So in English, this is, as soon as the pendulum has reached a regular motion, each tick-tack corresponds to one quarter note. Ladies and gentlemen, I found it. Let me show you. I'm gonna give the entire story of this metronome in a second, but we will scroll through first to this. You will not believe what you are gonna read. This is obviously the back of the cover, and it has an instruction on how to use the metronome. And oftentimes these instructions are pretty clear. You have a metronome mark. Every tick, every click corresponds with the note value of the metronome mark. Now, if you're not familiar with our work, we read the historical metronome marks differently. We take 2 ticks, 2 clicks of the metronome for that note value. So the back and forth together, obviously that makes the music slower. For instance, here, Chopin's Etude number 1. For people who have never heard this like this before, that will be a shock. Where is the virtuosity? Where is even the musicality? There is no proof for that, in spite of the fact that they've given you so many sources. The Melzel directions, the Melzel canon. We have made videos about the durations even that lead strongly to whole beat. I know some of you will be freaking out right now, but that's the conclusion. We have given you smaller sources like Edvard Jus, Dopra, Danel, Da Costa, you name it. And now this arrived. I'm not going to read the entire text, especially not in German. I know many of you will be not able to follow me, but the critical sentence I will read here. But before we do that, quick announcement. This is the last few days for you to go to our Kickstarter, support the complete Beethoven keyboard works, volume 1, played by Alberto. We will end the campaign the 3rd of March. So if you want to get your name into the booklet, it's now or never. Not only you get all the sonatas, you get also the unknown works, the variations, and they are mind-blowing. Many of these works you probably will never have heard before. And if you then hear these pieces played in what we call the WBMP, it will sound absolutely normal. But of course you get also the sonatas. And you don't want to miss out on this first box, because the second box is already coming in November. We're launching a Kickstarter then. And in November 26, so right before Beethoven's celebration year, so to say 27, you will get box number 3 and then have all the keyboard works by Beethoven played in whole beat. How cool is that? Again, link in the description box. Don't miss out on this one. It is about a metronome mark that is quarter note 84. And then the text says, sobald das Pendel einen regelmäßigen Gang erreicht hat, entspricht jedes Tick-tack einen Viertelnote. So in English this is, as soon as the pendulum has reached a regular motion, each tick-tack corresponds to one quarter note. So let's get this straight. Quarter note 84. Then the instructions say every tick-tack corresponds to one quarter note. Now, there is no other interpretation here as to accept that this is a textbook definition of whole beat. And so, in order to ensure this is not a misprint, he continues, in fact, and gives the example again, 84 for the half note. Now, if you zoom in, you could say like this is a dotted half note, but I'm pretty sure it's not, because the explanation goes, the half note 84, so heißt das, dass das Stück aufgrund eines Tick-tack pro halbe Note gespielt werden soll. So in English, this says like half note 84. It means that the piece is played each tick-tack per half note. So 2 times he's doubling down. He gives the example 84 quarter note means each tick-tack corresponds to the quarter note. In other words, each individual tick corresponds to the 8th note, right? And then just doubling the note value when you have half note 84, then that means that every tick-tack combined corresponds to the half note. So in other words, each quarter note, in the case of a half note in the metronome mark, corresponds to a tick. As a quick addition to that, the question that I get so often is like, yeah, but this binary system doesn't work for a ternary measure. Well, it's much simpler than you think. Let me just grab my metronome here. I have to be careful because it falls apart. This is a 19th century metronome. Just let's have a tempo like this. So, and imagine that your goal is to have like, you have dotted half note. What is the tempo here? I think around 88-ish. Imagine you have dotted half note 88 and you want to convert this into like a ternary measure. Well, it's very simple. You just apply the old principle of the tactus. I'm going to demonstrate that to you. So you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's that simple. I realize that there will be a lot of people, not you by the way, but when this message gets a little bit traction and spread, either gonna ignore that completely or gonna say like, yeah, but we have many more metronomes, even from the same brand of Paillard, that actually have like undoubtedly a single beat description. And then my answer would be, and so what? I've always said a single beat reading originates from very early on. We have sources in the 1820s that actually, maybe not deliberately or consciously, but they actually advocated for a single beat use of the metronome. It would be really strange if we would not have single beat descriptions, instructions, so to say, at the back of the cover of metronomes. But the fact that we have now one in whole beat, I mean, what else do I need to give to this musical world in order to open people's eyes that this whole beat reading, this back and forth, that was just a reality? And again, you don't need all of that. The metronome marks itself leave you no escape. People can claim that all of that is possible, or people like Martin Noordetuin in 2016, when they published his thesis on Beethoven's tempo indications, he can say in the introduction to his thesis like, yeah, I'm here only to reconstruct Beethoven's tempo system on paper. We're not gonna test it. It's not my responsibility. I'm just a musicologist. I give to the world everything that I think that Beethoven had in his mind in regards to tempo. But I'm not going to test it. I mean, that's as good as saying like, I did the testing and it didn't work out. Guys, it's impossible to play. So I'm not going to test it. That's someone else's responsibility. Give me my doctoral title. I know that nobody will ask me difficult questions, which they didn't. Because that doctoral thesis, I can tell you, has a lot of flaws, but apparently it was necessary. But that doesn't change the fact that we cannot play that system. And so what are you going to do? Until the end of time, saying like, yeah, we are reconstructing Beethoven and we are very serious and we are all for that. But actually, we're not going to do it in reality. We're happy with that philosophy on paper. Or are we going to say like, okay, guys, there is something that we are missing here, right? When this Mr. Galston in 1910 sat down at his piano and said like, me 144 for this Opus 10 number 2, which is regarded as one of the most difficult etudes written by Chopin. No. Go to 184 and then the piece becomes beautiful. Are we just going to assume that this guy played 184? Well, we are like saying like, yeah, we're already practicing 24 hours a day. We send our young students to physiotherapists because they are ruining their bodies like in high speed for the rest of their lives, by the way. The injuries they have are not just gone tomorrow. Many of them are chronicle, how do you say that? Or are we going to think and say like, yeah, but these metronome marks point to another reality. And then you have something like this. This metronome is not a handwritten instruction. This is a printed text. And so this is a kind of serial production. The guy who offered this online claimed, in fact, that this metronome was built around 1930. And that could very well be the case if you see the logo and the design. Like, it's a little bit this like Art Deco style. I'm not a specialist in that. And it's also not so important. But 1930 would be a very interesting date. Why? Because we have sources that late that actually provide like also a textbook definition of whole beat. In the book, you will find a passage from 1932 from a Dutch encyclopedia. It's not just an encyclopedia. This was one of the most prominent encyclopedias of music that you had in the time. And I think it still exists today. It had the tradition back into the 19th century. And there we have this metronome description that, for instance, quarter note 50, that means that every eighth note corresponds to a tick of the metronome. Well, that's also a textbook definition of whole beat. And now, this metronome, when it really is built like around 1930, again, if you see the logo, if you see the design of it, it could very well be the case. Then that corresponds with that definition we have from the 1930s. In fact, that would be even cooler, because that means that in the 1930s, there were still people that actually considered the metronome to be used like in the old days. But there is no denial that this description that was printed and in a serial production actually made gives you a textbook definition of whole beat. And if it's helpful for you, also if you're now watching and you were skeptical of our work and this helps you to be convinced to say like, yeah, finally, that's the final piece of the puzzle that I need. The Melzel canon was not enough. The Melzel directions were not enough. The durations were not enough. All the other sources were not direct enough. The letters by Beethoven, by Chet, it doesn't matter. It was not enough. But if this pulls you over that line, I'm happy. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for this world. Why? It's not because we are dogmatic, like some famous music professor recently said. It's not because of that. It's because tempo is the most important decision you can take as a performer. Whether you are an amateur, I hate the word by the way, or a professional. Like, changing tempo changes everything. And it's not only me who's saying that. It's just a fact for like every musician. You know that. You practice a piece until you reach a certain balance in your performance. You change the tempo, the entire piece changes. The articulation, the phrasing, the character of the piece, of the composition. So no wonder that we have so many quotes from the 19th century. Composers who say, I care about that correct tempo. I want that metronome. Beethoven endorsed the metronome his entire life, even until 3 months before he died. We have beautiful quotes by him saying how much the real effect of his works depend on his metronome marks. And so once we accept like, okay, there is no other solution than a gigantic box full of possibilities opens for all of us, because then that stupid metronome becomes a kind of time machine that's able to reconstruct what was lost and the tradition that we completely forgot about. That's what the metronome is doing. And if you say, like, I don't like that, or I like this evolved way of playing, because also what we hear today is also historically correct in the sense that this is an evolution. What we are doing here is going back in time. That's anti-evolution, I would say. But that's fine. When you like the Chopin as you hear it in the Chopin competitions, that's fine. But it shouldn't stand in the way of acknowledging that 200 years ago, it was much different. I know it's difficult to say, like, when I play Chopin like that, I know consciously that I'm actually deviating, like, from the original composition in like a drastic way. So drastic that actually what I'm doing does not represent anymore what Chopin had in mind or what Beethoven had in mind. I know that's an incredible change or shift in thinking, but it's the reality. And again, if this helps, then I'm super, super happy. Really, I'm happy for that. Also, of course, I'm happy that I found that. So where did I find that? There was an online sales, obviously, and I bought the metronome actually, and it was confirmed. But then 2 days later, I received a message from the seller that he accidentally sold this to someone else already. So I was just too late, apparently. So I asked him if he could do a little bit of effort and ask the buyers of this if they would they want to sell that to me. So I'm still waiting for that. But regardless if I find this or not, probably we'll find other metronomes like this with a similar instruction. If you happen to find one and you let me know or you send it to me, I will buy it from you. I will attach your name to this because this is really, of course, I want to have this in my collection. What do you think? And so, yeah, is this a clickbait video? Wim found Beethoven's metronome and then see, it's not Beethoven's metronome. Well, there was another guy named Peter Stadlen in the 60s and 70s. I would say that's maybe the biggest fraud as a musicologist. And I know these are strong words, but what this guy did was unbelievable, claiming that he found Beethoven's metronome and surprise, the weight was missing from the metronome. And see, that was of course the solution to everything because the weight actually made such a difference. And then we had recently studies that actually said it doesn't make any difference and so on. This is not picked up by the musicology world. I don't know why. Then we have people that say you have to read underneath the weight because try that in the metronome. I mean, who thinks about that? And by the way, it doesn't solve anything. You go from 25 notes per second to 21. Good luck with that. So it doesn't solve anything. And then based on just one inscription in Beethoven's Ninth Symphony where he says 108 or 120, it's not even clear what is written there. Might also be pendulum inches. But anyways, that's not enough, I think, to invent a metronome theory that it's backed by nothing in the 19th century, yet goes viral. But Peter Stadlen, I mean, I'm sorry for my harsh words, but he actually also destroyed Anton Schindler's reputation for no good reason. And then this guy kept inventing things like, I found Beethoven's metronome. Yeah, good luck with that. And based on nothing. And so, did I find Beethoven's metronome? No, obviously not. Why did I title the video like that? Because what would be more important? Would it be more important that we really had the device that Beethoven had on his piano when he was metronomizing the Hammerklavier Sonata, which he did, by the way, while playing? I heard some people, it was a music professor, I think, said that Beethoven never played his Hammerklavier Sonata. Well, he played the Hammerklavier Sonata to metronomize it, while his nephew, Karl, was actually reading the numbers on the scale. So Beethoven apparently could play his Hammerklavier Sonata. How surprising is that? But would it be more important to find that device? I would love to find that, yes, but probably will never find it. The device that's now in Bonn, I think, in the Beethoven house. I'm not sure if that is really the Beethoven metronome. It's of the same generation, so to say. Or this one, where we have an instruction written in German here that clearly comes from that tradition and that enables all of Beethoven's work to be playable. Suddenly everything is without any problem. And some people would say but it's getting so slow, it's unmusical. Well, that's taste. And that's something that you can overcome by just being to unbias you. If you just are not so biased against this whole beat thing. And many of you are not, but we all know there are people out there, and quite a lot. Then there is the musical universe that's opening for you that's beyond words. Then you come in this territory. It's unbelievable. Then also you come in in a situation like Alberto where he's recording the complete keyboard works. And don't think that is for all of us. Alberto is a virtuoso player, I would say, of today. He played Rachmaninoff concerti, he played Prokofiev, he played all that very difficult stuff, and then on a level that is the highest level that we have. I mean, this guy can play the piano. For him, all of these works become available with no question marks. He can play. He has to practice on the Hammerklavier Sonata. I mean, just try it. For even if you're watching this video and say but the Hammerklavier Sonata now becomes for amateurs, just try the piece in whole beat. I'm pretty sure that 95% of you watching right now are not able to play the Hammerklavier Sonata in whole beat. That's how difficult it is. I'm also pretty sure, I don't know if there are a lot of professionals watching, but a lot of you right now will have a lot of trouble. And it will be, I think for many of you, I think 90%, if not more, the Chopin etudes in whole beat flat out impossible. They're not easy. They're easy for people who played Rachmaninoff 3 today, yes. Or for people that practice so much on these etudes by Chopin that they reach a level that's so much higher than was expected in the 19th century. And when they go back, of course, they don't feel challenged. I get that. But it doesn't change anything on the fact that generally we will never be able to play those metronomes. And so, yes, I'm happy to have this. Hope you too. And hope you will forgive me for using that title and thumbnail. This is a message that has to go out. This is super important. This is something also that you can share. You don't need any explanation about like the Melzel directions. For instance, you have this sentence, you have that sentence. If you combine this with this, then this doesn't make any sense. So therefore we go to this conclusion. Nothing of that. You just need to make a translation of that. I will copy it in the description of this video and you can share it with everybody. This is undeniable. There is no escape from this definition, and therefore I'm happy, and therefore I made that thumbnail in the hope that many people as possible will see this and will watch this and realize that we have to think twice when we look over our shoulders back to history. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, this is the last week of our Kickstarter with the complete Beethoven works, Volume 1. The Kickstarter ends the 3rd of March. So if you want to have your name in the booklet, it's now or never. That was it for today. A big thank you, as always, for my Patreons. Check it out in the description box if it's something for you. They make me going. They also make me spend time searching for these things so that I can share it with you. Again, the link is in the description. Check it out if something for you. We have a lot of cool stuff there, podcasts, we have updates, we have hangouts, we have concerts, we have practicing session and all of that good stuff. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching. We see each other very soon again. Bye.